And Chris, before I ask you what all came out of the hearing, I want to begin with a clip that I'd like to play for you and then get your remarks. This is by a rabbi who actually testified there at the hearing.
Today, the entire community of Jews on campus do not need a home, they need a fortress. The notion of being able to be there, to build, to grow, where the campus is a nurturing environment for all of its students is unfortunately not their reality.
I find that shocking to hear. Your comments on that and what else jumped out at you at the testimony?
Well, Rabbi Hauer was quite, he said a number of things in his short 4-minute statement. But just to go to that, this whole notion that, and what he was saying was that my group and other groups like ours, we would want to provide a home for students at when they're away in a different place and a kind of a religious setting and a Jewish setting for people to go to. But now they don't need a home; they need a fortress because they need protection. And I think that fits perfectly with what he was saying. But I'll also go on to another point that he made, and he said. It was really moving. He was talking about, he said, the Jewish people know their history, and their history is one in which we go to countries, we prosper, we help these countries, we become a part of the society, and then they spit us out. They reject us. They throw us out. And, this is a reference to the Jews being thrown out of in England and France and Spain and all of these European countries, right? And a lot of other places. But then he said, we thought that this would never happen in America. And now we have to wonder, is this going to happen to us here too? And I think we have to, as Christians, we just can't let this happen. This is not all right. We have to get engaged and really fight this. Because I think he's correct. I mean, this is where we are. And it's become incredibly dangerous within a short period of time, but that's the world we live in, and we have to face this world, and we have to act in response.
Yes, absolutely, and I tend to believe that this is going to not end, if it's not dealt with, this will not end just with the Jewish community. I mean, it will be religious liberties and people of faith in general, and who knows where it will spread from there. We must stand up for this, and I appreciate you saying that. Let me shift gears, if I can, a little bit, because we had this past week the March for Israel, which was an incredible event. But then we had on Wednesday of this week, the Capitol Police had a confrontation with pro-Palestinian protesters who are blocking members of Congress from leaving the building. And what a contrast between what happened there and what happened at the March for Israel. Well, you were there. So what did you observe?
I thought the March for Israel was, it was just breathtaking. It was, Sarah Holliday, who works here, spoke really beautifully about it earlier in the week. But I'll just say that it was so calm and civilized, and the people were so polite with one another. They were listening. It's like you talk about having a riot outside the building, and you think about the contrast with it, these sort of decent, law-abiding, honorable people who are listening to music and listening to people who are speakers, and you just couldn't help but have tremendous respect for what apparently something approaching 300,000 people that were there. I hope there were a lot of Christians there. I wouldn't have any way to know that, but there were 10 of us from FRC, so we tried to help.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this before I let you go. Do you think there's any indication out there on the horizon that things perhaps can get better as more attention is being drawn to the problem and the rise of anti-Semitism?
I'm not pessimistic in that regard. I mean, that it's hopeless, right? I don't believe that at all. But I think we have to work together and we have to work with the Christians and the Jews, and we have to really come together, I think, and that really hasn't been the case before. And I think one of the things that we as Christians have to do is help Jewish people. There's a lot of distrust. It seems, we find this hard to believe, but there is a lot of distrust about us and what our motives are and what we, how we approach things. But here at this organization and in other places like ours, we come to this with a pure heart. We really love Jewish people, and we don't want this to happen, and we don't want them to be hurt. So I think that, and this is very important for a lot of reasons, including the protection of religious minorities. But just because these are people that, you know, like the Apostle Paul says, God gave them the law and the, you know, on Mount Sinai, right? They have a special place, and we have to, you know, we're grafted into that tree, right? So I think so I think we have to, you know, we have to really work hard. All right.
Chris Gacek, Senior Fellow for Regulatory Affairs here at FRC. Thank you so much for your insight and expertise. Thanks for joining us on Washington Watch.